Everything in your life today is a reflection of the choices you've made yesterday. Every habit, every thought, every relationship, every decision has brought you to this exact moment. Some of it is working for you, and some of it is holding you back. The people around you, the doubts you carry, the distractions you tolerate, they all have power over your energy, your focus, and your results. Imagine if you could take control of all of that. Imagine cutting away the things that drain you, cloud your mind, and slow your progress. Imagine feeling lighter, sharper, and more capable of achieving what you've always wanted. Today is about doing exactly that. Today is about identifying what is holding you back and deliberately removing it from your life. This isn't about making excuses, it's about making choices. Every action you take today sets the stage for the life you will live tomorrow. The energy you protect, the habits you adopt, and the people you allow near, you define the future you are creating. Right now, in this very moment, the opportunity to change everything is in your hands. This is the moment to decide who you want to be, what you want to achieve, and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. Everything starts with clarity, focus, and the courage to take action. And that's exactly what we're going to do. First things, toxic people who drain your energy. Every person has limited energy. You only wake up with so much mental strength, so much emotional focus, and so much physical drive. If you allow the wrong people to take that away, you end up with nothing left for the things that truly matter. That's why one of the most powerful steps you can take in life is learning to identify and delete toxic people who drain your energy. The ones who constantly complain, who criticize without building, who pull you down instead of lifting you up, are not just frustrating to deal with, they are dangerous to your future. Because while they're draining you, they're also slowing down your progress. Think about how you feel after spending time with someone who always finds fault. Your body feels heavy, your mind feels tired, and your motivation disappears. That's not just an emotional reaction, it's the real cost of allowing someone else to chip away at your spirit. And if you let that cycle repeat day after day, it won't be long before your dreams shrink. Your confidence weakens, and you start believing less in yourself. That's why this step matters. Relieving toxic people isn't about being unkind. It's about protecting the environment where your best self can grow. You know when someone is draining you. It's in the way you feel after the conversation. Do you leave inspired, or do you leave exhausted? Do you walk away with clarity, or do you walk away confused and doubting yourself? That difference is what separates a healthy relationship from a toxic one. And the truth is, no matter how strong you think you are, nobody can spend endless time with the wrong people and still become the right version of themselves. This doesn't mean you cut people off with anger or resentment. It means you choose to be clear about your standards. It means you respect yourself enough to say, I cannot keep giving my time to someone who only takes and never gives. You can decide how much access someone gets to you. Maybe you limit the conversations. Maybe you step back slowly. Whoa! Or maybe you walk away completely. What matters is that you take control of that choice. Because if you don't, they will continue to drain you without limit. And here's the reality. Some toxic people may never see themselves as the problem. They will call you selfish. They will call you cold. They will accuse you of being unfair. But you cannot live your life based on the approval of people who benefit from draining you. Their opinions do not build your future. Your peace of mind, your focus, and your growth matter more than staying in an unhealthy cycle just to keep them comfortable. When you make this shift, you begin to notice something powerful. Your energy comes back. Your mind becomes sharper. You feel lighter. You suddenly have the strength to chase goals that felt impossible before. You have more patience for the people who truly deserve your love and support. You realize that deleting toxic people doesn't just remove negativity, it creates space for the right people, the ones who believe in you, push you, and celebrate your success. This decision also sends a message to yourself. It says, I value my life enough not to hand it over to those who don't respect it. It strengthens your confidence because you know you are in control of your surroundings. And when you're in control of your surroundings, you're in control of your future. Success doesn't just come from hard work. It comes from protecting the environment where that hard work happens. It may not be easy. Some of these people might be close. They may even be family. That's what makes this step one of the hardest. But growth has a cost. And one of the biggest costs is learning to say no, even when your heart wants to say yes. Protecting your energy is not about rejecting love. It's about rejecting poison disguised as love. The smartest people in the world understand this principle. They know that energy is their greatest currency, and they spend it carefully. If you want to create a future filled with strength and achievement, you cannot afford to waste that currency on people who drain you dry. Your success is too important, your happiness is too valuable, and your time is too short. So start paying attention to how you feel around others. Notice who inspires you and who drains you. Be honest with yourself about the patterns you see. Then make the decision to create distance from those who take more than they give. It may feel uncomfortable at first, but soon you will see the rewards. Your mind will clear. Your confidence will grow, and your life will start moving faster toward the person you want to become. Deleting toxic people isn't just about removing negativity. It's about choosing life, energy, and growth. It's about giving yourself permission to rise without chains holding you down. It's about valuing yourself enough to say, I deserve better than this. And when you make that choice, your entire future changes. You become stronger, you become focused, and you become unstoppable. So, as we close, carry this truth with you. You don't need to fix face or convince anyone to see your worth. The only thing you must do is guard your energy, protect your peace, and pour your effort into becoming the person you're destined to be. The right people will recognize it. The wrong ones will fade away, and life will reward your strength with opportunities you couldn't imagine. Stay true to your path and never forget, you are stronger than their opinions, braver than their doubts, and far too valuable to waste on people who refuse to grow. Second things, negative self-talk and doubts. Every person alive wrestles with an inner voice. And for too many people, that voice is not a coach, it's a critic. It doesn't inspire, it tears down. It doesn't encourage, it whispers fear. It says things like, you're not good enough, you'll never make it. Who do you think you are? And over time, if you're not careful, you begin to believe it. You start to confuse those destructive whispers for the truth, and they begin to shape how you see yourself, how you act, and what you think you deserve. Negative self-talk is like a thief that sneaks into your house at night. It doesn't come in through the front door with alarms going off. No, it creeps quietly. At first, it's just a thought, a small one. Maybe I can't do this. Then another, I've failed before, I'll probably fail again. Soon, that whisper becomes so familiar, you don't even question it. And before long, you're living with the thief, letting it dictate your potential, your confidence, and even your future. Here's the truth, your mind is a battlefield. The most important conversations you'll ever have in your life are the ones you have with yourself, not the ones with your boss. Not even the ones with your spouse or your family, the ones inside your head. Because the story you tell yourself will either build you or break you. If you tell yourself you're worthless long enough, you'll start living like you are. If you tell yourself you're capable long enough, you'll start acting like it. The danger of negative self-talk is that it disguises itself as logic. It says, I'm just being realistic. I'm not as talented as them. I'm not as lucky. I've never been good at this stuff. But the problem is that it's not realism. It's a cage. And once you step into that cage, you stop trying, you stop dreaming, you stop fighting. You accept mediocrity as your destiny. Think about this. Most people don't fail because the world stopped them. They fail because they stopped themselves. They lose the battle in their head long before they ever face the challenge in real life. Their mind says, you tasmuris, you can't dasmurdist, so their actions follow with I won't datarist. But here's the good news. Just like negative self-talk is learned, positive self-talk can be learned too. You weren't born doubting yourself. You weren't born thinking you're not good enough. that was taught by experiences, by failures, by criticisms. And if it was learned, it can be unlearned. You can retrain the voice inside your head. Start small. Catch yourself in the moment. When you hear that voice say, quiet, you can't deslide acuitas slidence, interrupt it with, I can learn. When it says, USU failed before presletion, respond, USKSC. That means I'm closer to success now. When it says, ache, you're not enough, deslattered answer. With ache, I'm becoming more every day. You don't need to eliminate the negative voice completely. You just need to make the positive voice louder. Because here's the secret. Your life is moving in the direction of your strongest thoughts. If your strongest thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and self-criticism, your life will shrink. But if your strongest thoughts are filled with belief, resilience, and determination, your life will expand. Some people wait for someone else to believe in them. But the truth is, no amount of encouragement from others will matter until you believe in yourself. Your teacher can tell you, your friends can tell you, even your family can tell you, but if you don't change the voice inside, nothing outside will make a difference. So stop letting doubts sit in the driver's seat of your life. Stop letting that inner critic have the final word. Decide that from this day forward, the conversations in your head will no longer be a battlefield. They will be a training ground. A place where you build yourself, not break yourself. A place where you remind yourself of your potential, your worth, and your ability to grow. And once you begin to master that inner voice, you'll notice something extraordinary. You start carrying yourself differently. You start approaching challenges with confidence. You stop quitting so easily. And people around you will see it too. Because when you win the battle inside, you begin to win battles outside. Third things, comparing yourself to others. One of the most destructive habits a person can fall into is the trap of comparison. You know what I mean? You look at someone else's life, their success, their achievements, their possessions, and then you measure yourself against them. Maybe you scroll through social media and see someone traveling the world, buying a new car, or celebrating another accomplishment. And without even realizing it, you start to feel small. You start to question your own journey. You begin to believe that maybe you're not doing enough, not achieving enough, not becoming enough. But let me tell you something important. Comparison is the fastest way to rob yourself of peace, purpose, and progress. When you compare yourself to someone else, you're playing a game you can never win. Why? Because no matter what you accomplish, there will always be someone who has more, someone who seems farther ahead, someone who looks like they have it all together. If you measure your life by someone else's yardstick, you'll always feel like you're coming up short. The truth is, comparison blinds you. It distracts you from your own growth. It steals the energy you need to invest in your own progress. Instead of focusing on what's in your hands, you waste time looking at what's in someone else's. And here's the irony. Many times, the picture you're comparing yourself to isn't even real. Social media, society, even people around you, they only show you the highlights, never the struggles behind the scenes. You see the finished product, but you don't see the years of hard work, the failures, the tears, the late nights, the moments of doubt. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. And that's not only unfair, it's dangerous. Here's what I've learned. The only person you should compare yourself to is who you were yesterday. That's the measure that matters. Not whether you're richer than your neighbor, not whether you're more successful than your friend, not whether you've achieved what someone else has. The real question is, are you growing? Are you learning? Are you better today than you were yesterday? Because if you're improving, even by one small step, you're winning. And if you keep taking those steps, your life will transform in ways you can't even imagine. Think about it. A tree doesn't compare itself to another tree. A flower doesn't look at another flower and say, I wish I had your petals, your height, your color. No, it simply blooms in its own time, in its own way, according to its own design. And yet, human beings, with all our intelligence, with all our potential, fall into the trap of saying, I'm not good enough because I'm not like them. But you weren't created to be them. You were created to be you. Your purpose is unique. Your path is unique. And if you waste your life trying to chase someone else's path, you'll never discover the power of your own. Now, I want you to consider this. Every time you compare yourself to others, you're focusing on what you lack instead of what you have. You're magnifying your weaknesses instead of celebrating your strengths. But what if instead you shifted your focus? What if instead of saying, they're better than me, you asked, what can I learn from them? Because comparison can destroy you, but observation can build you. The difference is in how you approach it. If you see someone successful and it makes you feel small, you lose. But if you see someone successful and it inspires you, you win. Because now you're using their success as fuel for your own journey, not as a weapon against your self-worth. Let me tell you, some of the most unhappy people you'll ever meet are the ones who are constantly comparing themselves. They have money, but it's never enough because someone else has more. They have recognition, but it's never enough because someone else gets more applause. They're always chasing, never content, never fulfilled, because their measure of success is based on someone else's life. And if you're not careful, you can fall into that same trap. You can end up living a life that's not even yours, making choices not because they're right for you, but because you're trying to keep up with someone else. But success is not about keeping up. It's about going deep. It's about becoming the best version of you. It's about knowing your values, living your purpose, and walking your own path. And when you do that, something powerful happens. You stop competing and start creating. You stop comparing and start becoming. You stop living for approval and start living with peace. So today I challenge you, shift your focus. Every time you feel the urge to compare, remind yourself of your journey. Remind yourself of where you started and how far you've come. Celebrate your progress, even if it feels small, because growth is growth and progress is progress. And if you keep moving forward, no matter how slow, you'll get to where you're meant to be. And here's one final thought. When you compare yourself to others, you miss the gift of gratitude. But when you stop comparing and start appreciating what you have, you unlock joy. You unlock peace. You unlock the energy to keep building, keep growing, keep becoming. Don't let comparison steal that from you. Protect your focus. Protect your peace. And remember, your only competition is who you were yesterday. Thing 4, fear of failure that holds you back. Fear of failure is one of the biggest obstacles that holds people back from achieving the life they truly want. It's not failure itself that's dangerous. Failure is just a part of learning, a signal that shows you what doesn't work and guides you toward what does. The real danger is the fear of failing, the hesitation, the overthinking, the endless what-ifs that stop you from taking action. That fear whispers in your ear every time you think about starting something new, trying something challenging, or stepping out of your comfort zone. It makes you question yourself, your ability, your value. And before you even begin, you've already lost, not because you failed, but because fear stopped you from moving. Most people let fear control their decisions. They delay, they procrastinate, they settle for less than they're capable of. They tell themselves, I'm not ready yet, or I might fail, or what if I make a mistake? But the truth is, nothing in life worth having comes without risk. The people who are successful, who are thriving, who are living extraordinary lives are not fearless. They feel fear just like you, but they do not let it stop them. They recognize the fear and act in spite of it. Fear of failure often grows because people tie their self-worth to their outcomes. They believe that if they fail, it proves something about them, that they're not smart enough, not capable enough, not deserving enough. But this is a lie. Your value is not determined by a single success or a single failure. Your value is inherent. Your worth exists independently of the results you produce. Failure is not a reflection of who you are. It's simply feedback, information, and an opportunity to improve. Understanding this distinction. Once you see failure as a teacher rather than a threat, fear loses its power over you. Think about every successful person you know. Every single one of them has failed. Everyone has faced setbacks, mistakes, and disappointment. They've been turned down, overlooked, and questioned. Some of them have experienced public failure. Some of them have had financial losses or personal setbacks that would have crushed an average person's spirit, but they didn't stop. They didn't let the fear of failure paralyze them. They embraced the discomfort, learned from the mistakes, and kept moving forward. This is the path to growth, the path to achievement, the path to living a meaningful life. Fear also grows when you focus too much on the outcome and not enough on the process. People become so obsessed with what might happen that they forget to invest in what they can control. You can't control every result, but you can control your effort, your preparation, your attitude, and your persistence. By focusing on these, you build confidence, you gain skills, and you reduce the power that fear has over you. The more you act, the more you learn, the less intimidating failure becomes. Every small action you take chips away at the fear that once held you back. Another way fear takes hold is through comparison. You see others succeed and you start to doubt yourself. You measure your abilities against someone else's accomplishments and conclude that you'll never match them. But success is not a race against others. Success is a journey within yourself. Your only real competition is who you were yesterday. The more you focus on your own growth and your own path, the less fear of failure will dominate your mind. The energy you spend worrying about failing is energy you could be using to act, to learn, and to improve. Overcoming fear of failure also requires perspective. Life is long, and no single failure defines your story. Each failure is just a chapter, not the conclusion. Sometimes failure is a blessing in disguise. Sometimes it redirects you to an opportunity you never imagined. Sometimes it strengthens you, teaches resilience, and forces clarity. Fear makes failure feel permanent, but in reality, it's temporary. Every mistake, every setback, every disappointment is a chance to come back stronger, smarter, and more prepared than before. To conquer fear of failure, take small, intentional steps, set achievable goals, and break them into manageable pieces. Act even when it feels uncomfortable. Accept that mistakes will happen, and when they do, study them, adjust, and move forward. Build a support system of people who encourage you, not people who amplify your fears. Read and learn from those who have succeeded after multiple failures. The more examples you see, the more you realize that failure is normal, necessary, and even desirable if it leads to growth. Fear of failure is natural, but it should not control your life. If you allow it to dictate your choices, you will live small, avoid risk, and never reach your potential. But if you act in spite of fear, if you push forward despite uncertainty, if you focus on progress rather than perfection, you will find freedom, opportunity, and fulfillment. Success is not about never failing. It's about learning, growing, and moving forward despite failure. The sooner you accept this, the sooner fear stops being a roadblock and starts being a teacher. Your life is too valuable to be limited by fear. The dreams, the goals, the potential you carry inside cannot be realized if you wait until the fear disappears. It never will disappear completely. Fear is part of being human. The question is whether you will let it lead or follow. If you choose to lead, to act, to move forward, despite fear, you will create a life filled with achievement, confidence, and peace. The people who achieve the most are not those who avoided fear. They are the ones who moved forward with it, who refused to let fear control them, and who kept their focus on action and growth. Remember, every time fear whispers in your ear, challenge it. Ask yourself, what would happen if I tried anyway? Focus on preparation, on learning, on effort. Measure your progress against your own growth, not someone else's standards. Accept mistakes as lessons, setbacks as opportunities, and challenges as invitations to improve. When you do this consistently, fear will shrink, courage will grow, and your life will expand beyond the limits that once seemed impossible. Thing 5, excuses for not taking action. Excuses are one of the most dangerous obstacles to success because they are invisible chains that keep people trapped in the same place, year after year. They sound harmless, even reasonable, when you say them to yourself. I don't have time, I'm not ready, I don't have enough experience, I'll start tomorrow. These statements feel safe. They provide comfort because they give you an excuse for not stepping out, for not challenging yourself, for not taking responsibility for your life. But comfort is the enemy of progress. Every excuse you make is a moment wasted, a step not taken, and an opportunity lost. Excuses are born from fear and doubt. They are mental barriers that protect you from facing discomfort, uncertainty, or potential failure. But in reality, excuses do not protect you. They hold you back. They create stagnation and leave potential unrealized. People who succeed recognize this. They don't wait for perfect conditions or flawless plans. They act even when circumstances are less than ideal. They understand that perfect conditions rarely exist, and that waiting for them is a waste of the time and energy they could use to move forward. Action, not excuses, produces result. Every time you make an excuse, you are telling yourself that someone or something else is responsible for your life. You are giving away your power. True success comes when you take full responsibility for your choices, your actions, and your outcomes. No one else is going to hand it to you. Opportunities do not knock without effort, which does not happen by chance. Life moves forward when you move forward, and the only way to move forward is to stop creating reasons why you cannot. Excuses are reasons in disguise. They sound logical, but they are lies that prevent progress. Excuses also create patterns of delay. People who rely on excuses tend to wait for the right moment, the right opportunity, or the perfect idea. But the right moment is rarely clear, and opportunities are only visible to those who are actively moving toward them. The perfect plan is often an illusion. If you wait until all conditions are perfect, you will wait forever. Action in the present, even with imperfect conditions, builds momentum. Momentum attracts opportunity, confidence, and clarity. Excuses destroy momentum before it can begin. It is important to examine the excuses you make honestly. What are you telling yourself that is holding you back? Are you saying you don't have enough time when in reality you spend hours scrolling or avoiding focus? Are you saying you don't have enough skill when you could be learning and practicing every day? Are you waiting for circumstances to align when you could take one step, even a small one, toward your goal today? Excuses often disguise laziness, fear, or avoidance. Recognizing them is the first step toward eliminating them. When you stop making excuses, you take back control of your life. You become the driver of your own destiny rather than a passenger in someone else's plan. Excuse-free action requires honesty with yourself. It requires self-awareness to see when you are rationalizing in order to avoid discomfort. It requires courage to face the work, the effort, and the uncertainty that comes with growth. But the rewards are immense. Freedom, progress, achievement, and confidence are born from consistent action, not from just thinking or planning. The most successful people do not make excuses. They make decisions. They evaluate, adjust, and act. They face obstacles and take responsibility for overcoming them. Challenges are not reasons to pause or delay. Challenges are the proving ground where skills are built, character is strengthened, and resilience is tested. By eliminating excuses, you put yourself in a position to learn from every experience, to grow stronger, and to achieve more than you thought possible. Excuses are often tied to external circumstances, but circumstances are not permanent. Waiting for the world to align with your needs is a form of self-deception. You can act today, regardless of the conditions. You can start small, build gradually, and create progress that compounds over time. Every action you take, no matter how small, diminishes the power of excuses and increases your confidence. Each step forward proves, that you are capable, resourceful, and committed. The habit of taking action in spite of excuses is what separates successful people from those who remain stagnant. Action and accountability go hand in hand. When you take responsibility for your life, excuses lose their power. You stop blaming external factors and start focusing on what you can control. Time, effort, consistency, and attitude become your tools. You recognize that every small effort accumulates into significant results. You understand that waiting for external validation, perfect conditions, or the absence of obstacles is a waste of your potential. Progress is built on the choices you make today, not on the excuses you cling to. Excuses also limit your vision of what is possible. If you tell yourself you cannot do something, you stop even trying. Your mind becomes narrow, your goals shrink, and your potential remains locked inside. By eliminating excuses, you expand your vision. You see opportunities where before you saw obstacles. You recognize possibilities where before you saw limitations. Confidence grows, persistence strengthens, and the life you desire becomes attainable because your actions match your ambitions. Finally, taking action without excuses transforms your mindset. You begin to see challenges as opportunities. You develop resilience because every obstacle faced without excuse strengthens your ability to cope with adversity. You gain momentum, and momentum creates more action, more learning, and more progress. Excuses become irrelevant because your focus is on solutions, not reasons why you cannot. The more you practice this habit, the easier it becomes to act consistently, achieve goals, and build a life that reflects your true potential. Excuses may feel comfortable, but they are costly. They steal time, waste energy, and rob you of opportunities to grow and achieve. The moment you commit to eliminating excuses is the moment you step into personal power. Action becomes natural, progress becomes inevitable, and fear begins to fade. Each day becomes an opportunity to move forward, to challenge yourself, and to prove that you are capable of more than your doubts ever allowed. Excuses are distractions, but action is the path to success. Your life cannot change until your actions match your ambitions. Excuses are the gap between where you are and where you want to be. The decision to stop making excuses is a decision to take control, embrace responsibility, and create results. Every time you catch yourself rationalizing, remind yourself that progress comes from doing, not delaying. The life you want, the goals you desire, the impact you can have, they are all within reach, but only if excuses no longer guide your choices. Thing 6, unhealthy habits that slow you down. Unhealthy habits are silent obstacles. They creep into your daily routine without notice, and over time, they erode your energy, focus, and motivation. Many people fail to realize how much their daily choices shape the quality of their life. Eating poorly, neglecting sleep, skipping exercise, excessive screen time, and constant stress are all habits that slowly drain the mind and body. They might feel comfortable in the moment, but they take a heavy toll. They create a cycle where low energy leads to low effort, which leads to minimal results. To succeed, it is crucial to identify these habits and take control. Every unhealthy habit consumes resources you could be using to grow. A late night spent scrolling through social media or binge watching TV is time stolen from learning, creating, or pursuing goals. Eating poorly affects focus, mood, and stamina. Skipping movement diminishes both physical and mental energy. Each unhealthy habit is a tiny choice, and over days and months, these choices compound into results, often results that frustrate, disappoint, and limit potential. Awareness is the first step. You cannot change what you do not acknowledge. Breaking unhealthy habits requires clarity and intention. You must see them as obstacles, not just inconveniences. Many people underestimate the cumulative effect of small negative behaviors. Drinking one sugary beverage a day may seem harmless, but over time it impacts energy, focus, and overall health. Skipping exercise once in a while might feel inconsequential, but regular neglect of the body erodes stamina, resilience, and confidence. Every unhealthy habit has a cost, and the cost compounds over time. Replacing unhealthy habits with productive behaviors is the key. This does not require perfection from day one. It requires consistency and small steps. Swap a sugary snack with something nourishing. Take a short walk each morning. Establish a simple sleep routine. Reduce unnecessary screen time. These small actions create momentum and build self-respect. When your habits align with your goals, your mind and body work together instead of against you. Energy becomes available, focus sharpens, and productivity increases. It is important to understand the psychology behind unhealthy habits. They are often tied to comfort, avoidance, or instant gratification. People use them as temporary relief from stress, boredom, or discomfort, but these reliefs are temporary. They do not solve the underlying problems and often make them worse. Success requires facing discomfort, managing stress constructively, and delaying gratification. This is how you build resilience. This is how you create the discipline necessary for consistent progress. Unhealthy habits are also social. The people you spend time with influence the choices you make. If friends or colleagues engage in destructive behaviors, it becomes easier to follow their lead. Environment is a powerful driver of habit. Protecting yourself from negative influence is essential. Surround yourself with people who model energy, focus, and discipline. Their habits will influence yours positively. In contrast, remaining in unhealthy environments reinforces patterns that slow you down. Monitoring your progress is essential. Keep track of behaviors that drain your energy. Measure sleep, movement, nutrition, and other key habits. Reflection provides awareness. Awareness allows adjustment. When you see patterns clearly, you can make conscious decisions to replace destructive habits with constructive ones. Over time, this creates a foundation for success. Energy, focus, and momentum are built through daily choices, and each day becomes an opportunity to reinforce positive habits and eliminate negative ones. Breaking unhealthy habits is not just about the physical body. It affects your mindset and confidence. Every time you take control of a destructive behavior, you reinforce self-discipline and self-respect. You prove to yourself that you can make choices that align with your goals. This confidence spills over into every area of life. Decision-making becomes clearer, priorities sharper, and resilience stronger. Success is not a random occurrence. It is the result of habits that support health, focus, and action. It is natural to struggle when eliminating habits that are comfortable, familiar, or provide temporary relief. Change feels difficult at first. It requires persistence. You may fall back into old patterns. That is normal. What matters is the ability to recover and continue. Each attempt strengthens the habit of self-control and builds the foundation for lasting success. It is more important than perfection. Over time, small improvements in your daily choices lead to significant changes in results, energy, and confidence. Unhealthy habits also influence your emotional state. Poor nutrition, inadequate rest, and sedentary behavior can amplify stress, frustration, and negative thinking. Conversely, productive habits elevate mood, enhance focus, and improve resilience. Mental clarity and emotional stability are byproducts of consistent, healthy, daily behaviors. Your mind reflects the habits of your body and routine. When you create a lifestyle that energizes, nourishes, and strengthens you, your ability to take action and achieve results multiplies. Commitment is the difference between intention and results. Many people recognize their unhealthy habits but fail to take decisive action. They hope for change without effort, wishing that good results will appear automatically. Change requires action, and action requires discipline. Daily choices accumulate over weeks, months, and years. Each day spent reinforcing positive habits brings you closer to your goals. Each day spent indulging in destructive behaviors pushes you further away. Success depends on consistent, healthy choices, not on luck or fleeting motivation. In addition to action, mindset plays a crucial role. Viewing habits as tools for success rather than burdens or restrictions makes the process manageable. Discipline becomes a skill, energy becomes an asset, and focus becomes a habit. Progress is no longer about avoiding something, but about creating something better. The energy gained from eliminating unhealthy habits fuels productivity, creativity, and confidence. You are no longer held back by choices that once drained your potential. Ultimately, your life reflects the habits you practice daily. Unhealthy behaviors slow progress, drain energy, and cloud judgment. Healthy habits accelerate growth, strengthen resilience, and sharpen focus. Each moment offers the opportunity to make choices aligned with your goals. Every decision to prioritize well-being, energy, and focus is a step toward freedom, success, and fulfillment. Habits are the foundation. Choosing to eliminate unhealthy ones is a deliberate, conscious act that shapes your life, your results, and your future. Thing 7. Seeking validation from everyone is one of the most common habits that quietly drains your energy and slows down your progress. Many people spend more time worrying about what others think than focusing on what they truly want to achieve. The need for approval becomes a silent anchor, holding back decisions, creativity, and confidence. It creates hesitation, fear, and second-guessing in almost every area of life. If success depends on consistent action, then constantly seeking approval from others is a dangerous habit that undermines your potential. The problem with looking for validation is that it shifts your focus from what you can control to what you cannot. Opinions of others are unpredictable and often inconsistent. They are shaped by their experiences, biases, and moods, not by your goals or values. When your self-worth depends on external approval, you give away control over your life. You make choices based on someone else's expectations instead of your own vision. Over time, this creates frustration, self-doubt, and stagnation. Freedom and success are found when you take responsibility for your own standards and decisions. People who constantly seek validation tend to prioritize pleasing others over achieving results. They may spend hours explaining, justifying, or defending decisions that have no impact on others' lives, but distract from their own growth. Every moment spent trying to win approval is time stolen from building skills, creating value, and moving forward. Your life is too valuable to waste energy on people who will always have an opinion, whether positive or negative. True progress comes from self-direction, not from the fleeting praise of others. The need for validation often stems from fear. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of being judged. When this fear dominates decision-making, it creates hesitation and missed opportunities. You delay action because you worry about how people will perceive your efforts. You limit your creativity because you are afraid of criticism. You settle for less than your potential because you are trying to fit into someone else's standards. Overcoming this habit requires understanding that fear is temporary, but the cost of inaction lasts much longer. Breaking the habit of seeking validation begins with self-awareness. Observe how often decisions are influenced by someone else's opinion. Notice how it affects your energy, mood, and actions. Awareness alone is powerful because it illuminates the behavior and allows you to take control. When you understand that approval is optional and self-direction is essential, you can start making choices based on your own goals and principles. This shift in perspective is a turning point for both personal and professional growth. Confidence grows as you detach from the need to be liked by everyone. So, each time you make a decision aligned with your goals, regardless of approval, you strengthen your self-respect. Each time you pursue your vision without waiting for permission or validation, you build momentum and independence. The more you practice this, the less energy is wasted on external approval, and the more power you gain over your life. Your actions become intentional, purposeful, and guided by your standards rather than others' opinions. It is also important to realize that not everyone will understand your goals or dreams. People have their own priorities, limitations, and perspectives. Trying to make everyone understand or approve of your choices is impossible. Even those who are closest to you may question your path. That is natural. Success requires persistence. Focus on what matters, not on the temporary discomfort of someone else's disapproval. Approval should never dictate your actions when it conflicts with your growth. Healthy self-validation replaces the need for external approval. Set clear standards for yourself and measure your actions against them. Recognize progress, celebrate effort, and evaluate results according to your own benchmarks. When you learn to validate your work and intentions internally, the opinions of others lose power over your emotions, choices, and energy. Internal standards become a guide, providing confidence and clarity in every decision. This internal compass is more reliable than the unpredictable approval of others. Relationships and social interactions also improve when you stop seeking validation. When people are not constantly trying to please, they interact with authenticity. Communication becomes clear, honest, and less stressful. Boundaries are easier to set because you are not bending to gain approval. Respect from others comes naturally when your actions are consistent, confident, and principled. People are drawn to individuals who operate from integrity rather than a need for external validation. Your presence becomes influential because it is grounded, not dependent. It is important to recognize that breaking this habit is a process. Old tendencies may return, especially in moments of doubt or stress. You may feel uncomfortable when you stop seeking approval because it is unfamiliar. That discomfort is part of growth. Each instance of self-validation, each decision made for yourself, builds a habit of independence. Over time, this strengthens resilience, decision-making, and focus. The ability to act without seeking validation is one of the most powerful tools for success. Seeking validation also consumes mental energy that could be applied to growth. Every thought about what others think takes away focus from creating, learning, and achieving. When the mind is free from the constant assessment of others, energy becomes available to work on skills, pursue goals, and take meaningful action. Mental clarity and emotional stability increase, and decisions become faster, more confident, and more aligned with your values. The life you want is shaped by action, not by approval. Ultimately, seeking validation is a habit that limits potential, drains energy, and slows progress. Every time approval is prioritized over action, momentum is lost. Every time fear of judgment dictates choices, growth is delayed. True freedom, confidence, and success come from living according to your own principles, validating your own efforts, and acting with courage regardless of what others think. Life becomes simpler, energy becomes stronger, and results multiply when you stop seeking external validation. Your journey is personal. The opinions of others are temporary. The decisions you make for yourself build the foundation for your future. Each step taken without needing validation strengthens self-respect, focus, and resilience. Every choice aligned with your vision, not someone else's expectation, is an investment in your potential. The energy you reclaim from this habit becomes fuel for achievement, creativity, and fulfillment. The people who truly matter will respect the authenticity you create. Rohn, by acting from your own standards rather than seeking their approval. Thing 8, regrets about the past. Regrets about the past are heavy burdens that weigh down your energy and cloud your vision for the future. Everyone has moments they wish they could change, decisions they wish they could undo, or opportunities they missed. Holding on to these regrets keeps attention focused on what cannot be changed instead of what can be created. The past is fixed and unchangeable, but the present moment is full of opportunity. Every second spent dwelling on mistakes, missed chances, or failures takes energy away from actions that could shape a better future. Regret often appears as a repeated mental loop, a voice in your mind reminding you of choices you wish you had made differently. It may come with guilt, shame, or disappointment. It's natural to feel this way, but staying trapped in those feelings prevents progress. People who allow regret to dominate their thoughts tend to hesitate in making decisions, overthink situations, and avoid risks because they fear repeating past mistakes. The key is to acknowledge the past without allowing it to dictate current actions. It's important to understand that regrets are lessons disguised as discomfort. Every mistake, every failure, and every misstep contains information about what works, what doesn't, and what is important. Reflecting on the past with curiosity rather than blame allows insight to emerge. Instead of saying, "I shouldn't have done this," ask, "What can I learn from this to do better next time?" Using the past as a guide rather than a prison transforms regret into fuel for growth. Each lesson learned becomes a tool to make smarter choices moving forward. People often exaggerate the impact of their regrets, imagining that one past decision defines their life. This is rarely true. Life is not determined by a single mistake, but by patterns of action over time. One wrong choice does not erase the value of all the right choices made before, or the opportunities ahead. Holding on to regret magnifies its importance and distorts reality. By recognizing that the past is only a chapter and not the entire story, energy can be redirected toward building outcomes that matter today. Regret also has emotional consequences. Carrying unresolved feelings from the past can create tension, stress, and low self-esteem. It affects relationships, work, and overall well-being. People trapped in regret may find it difficult to trust themselves, to make decisions, or to act with confidence. Emotional freedom comes from accepting what has happened, forgiving yourself when necessary, and choosing to act in alignment with your goals in the present moment. Emotional release is not ignoring mistakes, but letting go of their power to control you. Moving beyond regret requires intentional action. The present is the only time where real change occurs. Every positive action, no matter how small, begins to overwrite the negative impact of past mistakes. Each step forward builds confidence and momentum. Creating measurable goals, taking responsibility for actions today, and focusing on progress rather than past missteps shifts energy from regret to achievement. Action is the antidote to regret, and consistent steps create a sense of accomplishment that outweighs any memory of failure. Regret can also prevent risk-taking. People who fear repeating past mistakes often avoid challenges that could lead to growth. They settle for comfort zones because the memory of failure looms larger than the possibility of success. Success rarely comes without taking calculated risks, and allowing regret to dictate behavior keeps opportunity out of reach. Courage is not the absence of regret, but the decision to act despite it. Every step forward becomes proof that past mistakes do not define ability or worth. It's vital to understand that the past provides context, but not limitation. Experiences shape perspective, teach resilience, and build wisdom. Every difficult moment, every setback, and every regret contains the potential for insight and improvement. People who embrace these lessons without dwelling on the negative aspects create a foundation for success. Regret only has power if energy is invested in it. By redirecting attention and effort to the present and future, every moment becomes an opportunity to reclaim control and purpose. Another aspect of letting go of regret is self-compassion. Many people hold harsh judgments against themselves for choices they made under circumstances they could not fully control. Life is a series of decisions based on available knowledge, resources, and maturity at the time. Being kind to yourself allows clarity and motivation to emerge. Harsh self-criticism does not erase mistakes, it only drains energy. Compassion allows reflection, learning, and forward movement without the weight of unnecessary emotional baggage. Regret can also impact relationships. People who dwell on past mistakes may withdraw, become defensive, or avoid vulnerability. This creates distance and inhibits authentic connection. By releasing regret, emotional energy becomes available for meaningful interactions. Relationships improve when attention shifts from what went wrong to what can be done now. Emotional presence, accountability, and engagement become natural when past burdens are released. Forgiveness, both of self and others, plays a key role in overcoming regret. Some regrets stem from actions of others, and holding on to resentment or blame keeps attention tied to the past. Letting go of these feelings frees mental space and emotional energy for proactive steps. Forgiveness is not forgetting or condoning mistakes. It is choosing to remove their power to dictate current behavior. When the mind is free from lingering resentment or regret, focus and clarity are restored. The energy saved by releasing regret can be invested in personal growth, skill development, and goal achievement. Every hour spent ruminating on past decisions is time taken away from creating value, building relationships, or improving circumstances. By consciously choosing to act, reflect, and plan in the present, individuals create results that far outweigh past mistakes. Success is built on action, not reflection, and momentum is generated by what is done today. Ultimately, regret about the past is a choice to remain tied to something that cannot be changed. Freedom comes from acceptance, learning, and focused action. Life is measured not by errors, but by recovery, progress, and impact. Each moment is an opportunity to apply lessons, pursue goals, and shape the future. By redirecting energy from regret to deliberate action, confidence grows, results multiply, and peace replaces emotional weight. The past can inform decisions, but it should never control life. Releasing regret also strengthens resilience. Every choice to act, despite past mistakes, reinforces the ability to handle setbacks. Each forward step builds courage and confidence. Life becomes less about what cannot be undone and more about what can be created. The future becomes bright, achievable, and rewarding when energy isn't invested in growth rather than self-blame. The most successful people are not those without mistakes, but those who use past experiences as fuel to move forward with clarity, purpose, and strength. By focusing on what can be changed today, you reclaim control. Every goal pursued, every skill developed, and every action taken moves life in a positive direction. Regret diminishes as progress accumulates. Each success, no matter how small, reaffirms capability and self-worth. The past becomes a teacher, not a jailer. When energy is devoted to constructive action rather than regret, life becomes more fulfilling, meaningful, and empowered. Thing 9, clutter that creates mental chaos. Clutter isn't just about the mess around you. It's also about the mess in your mind. When your environment is filled with unnecessary things, your thoughts start to scatter. Every paper left on a desk, every pile of clothes on the floor, every unread message or email adds a layer of distraction. It creates a subtle but constant drain on your focus and energy. The brain works best when it can prioritize, organize, and direct attention efficiently. Physical clutter interrupts that process and adds stress without you even realizing it. Mental chaos often mirrors physical. When surroundings are disorganized, it's hard to think clearly, plan effectively, and make decisions. Each day, countless small distractions compete for attention, and the energy needed to manage them reduces the energy available for meaningful action. People who live in cluttered spaces often feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or stuck. The mind constantly signals there's too much to handle, which makes it harder to start tasks, follow through with commitments, and pursue goals. Clutter doesn't just occupy physical space, it occupies mental space. Every item you keep but don't use regularly demands some level of attention. Even subconsciously, it reminds you of unfinished projects, old commitments, or things you feel you should do. This creates tension and makes it difficult to fully engage in the present moment. Every small decision becomes heavier because the mind is already carrying unnecessary weight. Freedom comes when you begin to remove that clutter, simplifying both your surroundings and your thinking. The first step is awareness. Notice how your environment affects your mood, energy, and productivity. Does your desk feel overwhelming? Do closets or drawers contain items you haven't used in months or years? Does your digital space, smells, files, apps, create a sense of chaos? Recognizing the clutter and acknowledging its impact is critical. Awareness gives control. Once you see the problem, you can begin to take deliberate steps to remove it. Clutter can also create emotional baggage. Old items, unnecessary possessions, and unfinished tasks often carry memories, attachments, or reminders of stress. Holding on to them keeps you connected to experiences you no longer need. Emotional energy is wasted maintaining relationships with things that don't serve your life. Each time you let go of something unnecessary, you release that energy and create mental breathing room. A clear space encourages clear thinking, focus, and calm decision-making. Prioritizing removal of clutter requires discipline. It's not about discarding randomly, but about consciously choosing what belongs in your life and what doesn't. If an item does not contribute to your current goals, happiness, or well-being, it is holding space that could be better used. Physical clutter removal often sparks mental clarity. Cleaning a workspace, organizing a closet, or deleting unnecessary digital files provides immediate relief. It creates a visible and tangible sense of control, which reinforces the habit of maintaining simplicity. Clutter also affects time management. Searching for lost items, rereading messages, or trying to remember unfinished tasks steals valuable minutes and energy each day. These small interruptions add up over weeks and months, reducing overall productivity and focus. By removing clutter, you create space for the things that truly matter. Time, once freed from constant small distractions, becomes a resource that can be invested in learning, creating or pursuing meaningful goals. The mental benefits of decluttering go beyond productivity. Clarity of space leads to clarity of mind. It reduces anxiety and stress, creates a sense of accomplishment, and improves decision-making. When surroundings are organized, the mind can operate at a higher level. Creativity flows more naturally, and the ability to concentrate strengthens. The brain no longer fights a constant battle against unnecessary inputs, freeing attention for actions that create results. Clutter can take many forms beyond physical items. Digital clutter, mails, notifications, apps, and social media occupies attention without producing value. Mental clutter, overthinking, unresolved decisions, or excessive commitments drains energy and focus. Emotional clutter, negative feelings, grudges, and regrets cloud judgment and motivation. Each type of clutter requires conscious effort to remove. The process is intentional, deciding what is essential, what serves your growth, and what can be eliminated. Building a habit of decluttering produces compounding benefits. A daily or weekly routine of simplifying surroundings and thoughts prevents chaos from accumulating. When clutter is addressed regularly, the mind develops a natural tendency toward clarity and focus. Maintaining organized spaces and prioritizing mental simplicity becomes effortless over time, creating a consistent environment where energy and attention are directed toward results rather than distractions. Clutter removal also affects self-perception. Living in organized, intentional spaces signals self-respect, discipline, and care. It reinforces the mindset of capability and control. Conversely, allowing clutter to dominate signals acceptance of chaos, which can lower self-esteem and create a sense of helplessness. Small actions to simplify the environment and mind signal commitment to personal growth and high standards. Each discarded or organized item reinforces the habit of intentional living. Every person has items, tasks, or thoughts that serve no purpose and only create noise. By identifying them and removing them, you reclaim mental and emotional energy. This energy is essential for achieving goals, maintaining focus, and making confident decisions. Mental clarity allows attention to concentrate on actions that directly impact results, relationships, and personal growth. The space created by removing clutter is not emptiness. It is freedom, opportunity, and potential. The process requires commitment and consistency. It is not a one-time activity, but a lifestyle choice. Each day provides opportunities to evaluate possessions, thoughts, and routines, asking whether they serve progress or merely occupy space. The practice of conscious simplification strengthens discipline and increases the capacity to focus on high-value activities. Over time, small decisions to remove unnecessary weight compound into significant improvements in productivity, focus, and well-being. Clutter removal also improves. When the environment is organized and mental space is clear, challenges are easier to handle. Decisions are made more efficiently and stress levels decrease. You can respond to life with calmness rather than feeling overwhelmed by scattered responsibilities and distractions. A clear environment supports a clear mind, creating stability and strength in all areas of life. Ultimately, clutter holds power only if it is allowed to. Every item, thought, or commitment that does not serve the life you want has the potential to distract, delay, and frustrate. By intentionally removing what does not matter, you reclaim focus, energy, and control. Clarity in space translates into clarity in thought, clarity in decisions, and clarity in life. Each act of simplification is an investment in personal freedom, effectiveness, and success. By eliminating clutter, life becomes lighter, sharper, and more directed. Actions gain momentum, decisions come easier, and energy is available for the things that truly matter. Simplifying the environment and mind is not just organization. It is a strategic approach to achieving goals, maintaining focus, and living. The benefits compound over time, producing a life that is less chaotic, more productive, and more satisfying. Thing 10. Spending time on meaningless gossip. Spending time on gossip may feel like harmless conversation, but it quietly drains energy and focus. Every moment spent talking about what others are doing, judging their choices, or speculating about their lives is time that cannot be invested in your own growth, goals, or well-being. Gossip creates distractions that keep the mind busy with other people's business rather than your own progress. Each word exchanged in this way adds weight to your day without producing value, leaving you mentally exhausted and emotionally drained. Engaging in gossip also affects thinking patterns. It reinforces a habit of focusing on external circumstances and other people's mistakes rather than your own actions and potential. This habit creates a subtle dependency on what others are doing for your sense of activity or purpose. When energy is directed outward to observe, criticize, or speculate, it is taken away from creating, improving, and executing plans for personal success. Over time, this misdirection compounds, slowing progress in every meaningful area of life. The emotional cost of gossip is often underestimated. Negative conversations about others foster judgment, resentment, and sometimes envy. These emotions linger longer than the conversation itself and influence mood, confidence, and decision-making. They create mental clutter, similar to carrying unnecessary weight, and distract attention from priorities. The mind becomes preoccupied with things outside of control, leaving less room for clarity, creativity, and action. The habit of gossip is not accidental. It is reinforced by social patterns. People naturally seek connection, but when this connection is based on discussing others rather than shared growth or meaningful exchange, it reinforces distraction. Friends, colleagues, and even family members can unintentionally normalize gossip, making it feel acceptable to spend energy on irrelevant matters. The decision to break this habit is an act of self-respect and a commitment to personal priorities. Breaking free from gossip begins with awareness. Notice when conversations shift toward unproductive discussions about others. Observe how it affects your focus, mood, and energy levels. Recognize that every minute spent in gossip is a minute removed from creating something of value, improving skills, or advancing toward meaningful goals. Awareness alone is a powerful first step because it allows you to consciously choose how to spend energy rather than being pulled into distraction. Redirecting conversations and attention toward productive topics strengthens self-discipline. When asked to engage in gossip, respond with neutral statements, change the subject to solutions or personal development, or consciously step away. Over time, the habit of redirecting attention cultivates mental clarity, protects energy, and reinforces focus on what truly matters. Each small choice accumulates into a greater pattern of intentional living. Avoiding gossip also improves. People notice those who speak with intention and positivity rather than participating in unproductive discussions. Reputation is built silently over time through consistent actions, and choosing to refrain from gossip signals maturity, focus, and reliability. It strengthens relationships built on respect rather than shared judgment, increasing influence and opening opportunities for meaningful connections. Time spent on gossip is often time taken from learning, reflection, or skill building. Every conversation can be an opportunity to grow, gain insight, or exchange useful information. Yet gossip rarely contributes to any of these. By refusing to participate, attention is freed for reading, learning, exercising, planning, or working on projects that lead to tangible progress. The return on investment from meaningful activity far exceeds the fleeting satisfaction of discussing others. Avoiding gossip is not only about personal gain, it is about protecting mental and emotional health. When focus is diverted outward to the lives of others, the mind becomes cluttered with unnecessary comparisons, judgments, and opinions. This clutter can create anxiety, stress, and a false sense of urgency about matters outside of control. By staying focused on priorities, maintaining emotional balance, and avoiding distractions, mental clarity is preserved, allowing for better decisions and more effective action. The discipline to avoid gossip strengthens other areas of life. Saying no to unproductive conversations teaches self-control, reinforces boundaries, and builds resilience against social pressure. Each time energy is preserved instead of wasted, confidence grows, focus sharpens, and productivity increases. The cumulative effect over weeks and months is transformative, freeing time and attention for the things that truly create results and satisfaction. Replacing gossip with positive or constructive conversation amplifies benefits. Sharing ideas, experiences, solutions, or encouragement creates value for both participants. Conversations that inspire action, generate insight, or support development strengthen relationships and foster a culture of growth rather than distraction. Engaging in meaningful dialogue also creates momentum for personal improvement and deepens connections with like-minded people who share similar values and goals. In addition, eliminating gossip improves emotional intelligence. Avoiding judgmental talk about others allows for clearer observation, better understanding, and more effective communication. It prevents the brain from becoming conditioned to react emotionally to trivial matters. Instead, attention is trained to assess situations, respond rationally, and focus on solving problems that matter. Over time, this mental training strengthens self-discipline and sharpens decision-making skills. The benefits of deleting gossip extend to stress reduction. Negative conversations create tension, sometimes even conflict, that lingers beyond the moment. When energy is spent on productive, positive, or purposeful communication, stress is minimized. The mind remains calm, composed, and capable of focusing on actions that drive results. Peace of mind, once cultivated through intentional conversation, becomes a resource for creativity, problem-solving, and consistent progress. Ultimately, every moment spent on gossip is a moment that cannot be recovered. The choice to eliminate this habit is a direct choice to invest in life, growth, and priorities. Energy saved from unproductive chatter can be directed toward learning, action, relationships that matter, and achieving goals. The cumulative effect of consistently refusing to engage in gossip is clarity, focus, and momentum toward the life you want to create. Choosing to stop gossiping is a statement about who you are becoming. It signals maturity, self-respect, and dedication to personal development. It reinforces habits of intentional living, strengthens mental discipline, and protects the energy necessary for meaningful progress. Over time, life becomes simpler, clearer, and more focused. Productivity increases, emotional health stabilizes, and personal growth accelerates. The decision to delete gossip from life is not just a single act. It is part of a larger commitment to remove everything that distracts, drains, or delays progress. Every time attention is redirected from meaningless conversations to actions that build the future, momentum grows. Life becomes more controlled, energy becomes more purposeful, and each day contributes meaningfully toward long-term goals. Clarity, focus, and freedom are the rewards of this consistent choice. Things sure eat. Procrastination and laziness. Procrastination and laziness are silent killers of progress. They appear harmless at first, small delays that seem insignificant, but they compound over time. Every postponed task, every moment of idleness creates a gap between where you are and where you want to be. Success does not wait, and each day lost to procrastination is a missed opportunity that cannot be reclaimed. It is not about talent or luck. It is about taking action consistently, no matter how small, to move closer to your goals. The danger of procrastination is in its subtlety. It disguises itself as rest, relaxation, or prioritizing comfort. The mind rationalizes delay with reasons that feel valid. The task is too big, the timing is not right, or there will be a better moment later. Each excuse seems reasonable at the time, but collectively they form a habit that becomes a barrier to achievement. Laziness and delay steal potential, and the longer the habit continues, the harder it becomes to break. Overcome begins with awareness. Recognize when the urge to delay arises and observe the thoughts and feelings that accompany it. Notice how comfort, fear, or distraction is pulling attention away from meaningful action. The moment of awareness is critical. It is the point at which choice exists. Every small task completed immediately reinforces the habit of action and builds momentum. Momentum is the force that carries progress forward, and it begins with the courage to act despite discomfort. Procrastination is often tied to fear. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, or fear of making a mistake can prevent action. Laziness, in this sense, is a shield against perceived risk. Confronting fear directly by taking deliberate steps toward the task despite uncertainty weakens its control over behavior. Each step forward builds confidence, diminishes hesitation, and strengthens resilience. Action becomes a habit that replaces avoidance, turning fear into motivation rather than a barrier. The habit of procrastination affects more than productivity. It influences mindset. Repeated delay erodes self-confidence and reinforces negative beliefs about capability and control. Each postponed responsibility sends a subtle message to the mind that action is optional, that time is abundant, and that results are not urgent. Over time, this mindset becomes a lens through which opportunities are evaluated, often leading to missed chances and unfulfilled potential. Breaking free from laziness requires deliberate structure. Prioritizing tasks, breaking work into manageable steps, and creating clear deadlines provides the framework to act consistently. Small victories, when repeated daily, accumulate into significant progress. Completing one task today, another tomorrow, and another the next day develops discipline, reinforces capability, and establishes a pattern that makes procrastination increasingly difficult to sustain. Environment plays a critical role in combating procrastination. Distractions, clutter, and unproductive influences encourage delay. Redesigning space and routines to support focus, clarity, and immediate action strengthens habits of diligence. Remove or reduce sources of distraction and create conditions that make action the easiest choice. The more effortless it is to start, the less power procrastination has to interfere. Accountability enhances the ability to overcome procrastination. Sharing goals with a mentor, friend, or colleague creates external motivation to act. When someone else observes progress, delay becomes harder to justify. Accountability transforms procrastination from a private habit into a public commitment, increasing pressure to follow through and reducing the likelihood of avoidance. Energy management also impacts procrastination. Fatigue, poor nutrition, and lack of rest can make tasks feel heavier and delay more appealing. Maintaining physical health through adequate sleep, movement, and nourishment provides the stamina needed to act consistently. When energy is abundant, tasks are approached with clarity and efficiency, making procrastination less enticing. The psychological cost of procrastination extends to stress and anxiety. Delaying tasks often creates a mental backlog, causing the mind to dwell on unfinished work. Each pending responsibility occupies cognitive space, creating tension that affects focus, mood, and decision-making. By acting promptly, these mental burdens are lifted, freeing energy for productive thinking, problem-solving, and meaningful engagement. Success is built on consistent, small actions taken over time. Procrastination undermines this principle by allowing opportunities to slip away. Laziness may seem harmless in the moment, but it creates a cumulative effect that shapes the trajectory of life. Every delayed task, every choice to remain idle, builds a pattern that separates those who achieve from those who merely dream. Action, even imperfect action, is superior to delay. Progress does not require perfection. It requires movement. Starting a task, even with mistakes, is a demonstration of control over life and circumstances. Momentum grows from each decision to act, building confidence, competence, and results. Overcoming procrastination is a matter of habit, not motivation. Fluctuations, but consistent habits create reliable outcomes. Each day presents opportunities to choose action over delay. The small, immediate steps taken consistently will lead to larger achievements over time. Completing one task today sets the tone for tomorrow, creating a chain reaction of productivity. The mind grows accustomed to action, fear diminishes, and confidence increases. Laziness loses its grip when action becomes natural, habitual, and expected. Choosing to act consistently shapes identity. A person who consistently takes action sees themselves as capable, reliable, and determined. Laziness or procrastination erodes self-image, reinforcing negative beliefs about competence. Replacing delay with deliberate action rewires perception, strengthens self-worth, and establishes a mindset oriented toward results. Each step taken is a reinforcement of personal power, autonomy, and commitment to goals. The long-term impact of eliminating procrastination cannot be overstated. Time, once lost, cannot be regained. Every delayed opportunity reduces potential outcomes, limits growth, and creates regret. Acting decisively preserves time, maximizes potential, and positions life toward meaningful achievement. The choice to act now is a choice to reclaim power, focus, and control over your future. Procrastination is not defeated in one moment. It is overcome through repeated choices to act. Each decision to move forward strengthens habit, builds confidence, and diminishes the influence of laziness. The cumulative effect of consistent action over weeks, months, and years transforms results, mindset, and life trajectory. Success is the product of these repeated choices, not chance or circumstance. The discipline to act immediately to overcome the pull of comfort and delay is a skill that empowers every area of life. Relationships, finances, health, and personal growth all benefit from consistent, decisive action. Laziness is replaced by productivity, uncertainty by confidence, and opportunity wasted by opportunity seized. The life achieved through action is vastly different from the life dictated by procrastination. In the end, defeating procrastination is a choice, a daily commitment to value time, energy, and potential. It requires awareness, courage, and persistence. By refusing to let delay control behavior, focus shifts to meaningful work. Momentum grows, and every day becomes an investment in success. Each action taken is a building block toward a life of accomplishment, fulfillment, and mastery. Things sure are. Living to please everyone. Living to please everyone is a trap that quietly steals energy, focus, and clarity. It starts innocently with the desire to be liked, accepted, and valued by those around you. At first, accommodating others may feel harmless, even rewarding, but over time, it becomes a burden. The constant effort to align your actions, words, and decisions with what others want leaves little room for your own goals and priorities. Energy that could be invested in personal growth or achievement is instead spent seeking approval and avoiding conflict. The challenge of living for others lies in its subtlety. When decisions are filtered through the lens of other people's expectations, personal desires are suppressed. Choices that should reflect your values, ambitions, and vision are replaced by what seems acceptable, convenient, or comfortable for those around you. Over time, identity blurs. You may reach a point where distinguishing your own goals from the expectations of others becomes difficult and your path forward is unclear. The danger is not only in wasted energy, but in the compromise of integrity. Consistently prioritizing others' desires over your own can lead to decisions that contradict your values, resulting in internal conflict. When actions are misaligned with personal principles, dissatisfaction and resentment build. Happiness and fulfillment diminish because life is measured by the standards of others rather than your own. The constant pursuit of approval limits the freedom to act decisively and authentically. Breaking free from this habit begins with awareness. Observe the moments when decisions are influenced more by fear of disapproval than by conviction. Recognize situations where compromise comes at the cost of personal goals. The realization that not everyone's approval is necessary is the first step toward liberation. Freedom grows as the desire to please diminishes and the focus on meaningful priorities increases. Boundaries play a crucial role in resisting the pressure to please others. Clear limits on time, energy, and attention create the space to focus on what matters most. Boundaries are not walls. They are commitments to self-respect, purpose, and clarity. By defining what is acceptable and what is not, you take control over your decisions, actions, and priorities, reducing the influence of external pressures. Understanding that it is impossible to satisfy everyone is vital. People will form opinions, criticize, and judge, regardless of your efforts to accommodate them. Acceptance of this reality allows focus to shift toward actions that align with personal goals rather than attempting to control perceptions. Life is shaped by choices, not approval, and success requires courage to act independently of outside validation. The mental and emotional burden of living to please others is significant. Anxiety, stress, and self-doubt often accompany this pattern because energy is divided between personal goals and constant worry about others' reactions. Productivity suffers, creativity diminishes, and confidence erodes. By prioritizing personal values and objectives, energy is restored, focus improves, and actions become more deliberate and impactful. Consistency in prioritizing self over others' expectations strengthens autonomy. Each decision made based on personal conviction reinforces self-trust and clarity. Over time, a pattern of independence develops, reducing susceptibility to pressure and increasing resilience. The ability to act without fear of disapproval is a defining characteristic of successful, self-directed individuals. The habit of people-pleasing often stems from fear of rejection, criticism, or conflict. Confronting these fears directly by choosing authenticity over acceptance diminishes their control. Each act of integrity builds confidence and reinforces the understanding that true value is not contingent on approval. Courage to make independent choices becomes habitual, and life becomes more intentional. Relationships benefit when authenticity replaces accommodation. People respond to sincerity, not to efforts to please. By being clear about priorities, values, and boundaries, connections become more honest and mutually respectful. Energy that was previously dissipated in attempts to manage others' opinions can now be invested in meaningful interactions and growth-oriented relationships. Time management is closely linked to this habit. Attempting to meet everyone's expectations often leads to overcommitment, exhaustion, and reduced focus on high-value activities. Learning to say no without guilt, to prioritize effectively, and to honor commitments to oneself ensures that time and energy are allocated where they produce the greatest results. Life becomes more productive and purposeful when energy is directed toward meaningful goals. Self-reflection is essential in breaking the pattern of people-pleasing. Regularly assess which actions are chosen for personal growth and which are performed solely to satisfy others. This clarity allows course correction, reinforces priorities, and strengthens decision-making. Awareness of the difference between meaningful compromise and unnecessary accommodation is a critical step toward autonomy. The long-term effect of living to please others is a life constrained by external expectations. Choices driven by the fear of disapproval limit opportunities, hinder personal growth, and create regret. Conversely, a life guided by personal values, priorities, and goals is full of purpose, progress, and achievement. The decision to act independently shapes destiny in ways that external validation never can. Emotional resilience grows as dependence on others' approval diminishes. Confidence becomes intrinsic rather than conditional. Each choice aligned with personal priorities reinforces the understanding that success, satisfaction, and fulfillment are determined internally. This shift transforms perception, reduces stress, and strengthens the ability to navigate challenges without seeking constant reassurance. The habit of living to please others is not overcome instantly. It requires repeated choices, self-discipline, and reflection. Each act of independence builds momentum, reinforces personal power, and gradually reshapes behavior. Freedom from external pressure is not only liberating but also essential for creating a life that reflects ambition, values, and vision. In practice, acting for oneself requires clarity in goals, courage in decision-making, and persistence in alignment with personal principles. Every day presents opportunities to make choices that honor values and progress toward meaningful objectives. Each decision is a step away from dependency on approval and towards self-directed accomplishment. Ultimately, living to please everyone sacrifices time, energy, and potential. Prioritizing personal goals, values, and growth ensures that effort is focused on results that matter. Independence in action, courage in choice, and commitment to principles create a life of purpose and achievement. The path to success is paved with decisions made for oneself, not for the approval of others. Overthinking every situation. Overthinking every situation is a trap that can quietly drain energy, focus, and clarity. When the mind becomes consumed by constant analysis, questioning, and speculation, progress slows, decisions become paralyzed, and opportunities are missed. It begins subtly with the intention to make better choices or anticipate problems, but over time it transforms into a habit that prevents action. The more time spent turning ideas over in your mind without moving forward, the less momentum you have to create results. The danger of overthinking is that it creates a sense of urgency without any actual progress. The mind becomes a revolving door of possibilities, what-ifs, and doubts. Each scenario is examined, dissected, and imagined in every possible outcome. While analysis can be helpful, over-analysis breeds hesitation, fear, and indecision. Energy that should be directed toward meaningful action is wasted on mental exercises that often yield no practical solution. Overthinking erodes confidence. When every decision is scrutinized excessively, self-trust weakens. The habit sends a message that internal judgment is unreliable and that every step requires excessive caution. Over time, this undermines the ability to make decisions quickly, handle challenges effectively, and take responsibility for outcomes. Confidence diminishes and the fear of making a mistake grows, creating a cycle that is difficult to break. The habit often originates from fear of failure, criticism, or making the wrong choice. Each thought reinforces the idea that mistakes are catastrophic and must be avoided at all costs. In reality, mistakes are an essential part of learning and growth. Overthinking prevents the trial and error process that leads to mastery and success. The more time spent trapped in thought, the further away tangible progress moves. Breaking free from overthinking begins with awareness. Recognize when thoughts are repetitive, unproductive, or causing stress. Notice the difference between planning and obsessive analysis. Planning prepares for action. Overthinking immobilizes. Awareness allows the choice to interrupt the cycle before it consumes more energy, enabling focus on what actually moves life forward. Action is the antidote to overthinking. Every step taken, no matter how small, reduces mental clutter and builds clarity. Execution creates feedback, which informs better decisions, reinforces learning, and produces measurable results. Waiting for the perfect plan or imagining every possible outcome delays progress indefinitely. Forward movement, even in small increments, restores momentum and confidence. Prioritization is essential in overcoming overthinking. Not every decision requires deep analysis or extensive reflection. Recognizing which choices are critical and which are minor helps conserve mental energy. Minor decisions can be made quickly, freeing the mind to focus on significant priorities. Overthinking diminishes when energy is allocated strategically rather than scattered across every detail. Mindfulness techniques can reduce the impact of overthinking. Focusing on the present moment, observing thoughts without judgment, and redirecting attention to actionable steps brings clarity and reduces mental noise. Meditation, journaling, or structured planning sessions can also provide a controlled space for reflection, preventing thoughts from spiraling out of control. Clarity comes from simplifying complexity. When faced with overwhelming situations, breaking problems into smaller, manageable parts allows action without paralysis. Overthinking often arises when challenges seem too large or complicated. Tackling one component at a time creates progress, reduces stress, and builds confidence. Each step forward proves that movement is possible, even in uncertain circumstances. Time management is closely connected to overthinking. Excessive mental energy spent on analyzing decisions reduces available time for action. Productivity diminishes, deadlines are missed, and goals are delayed. Creating structured routines and allocating specific time for decision-making prevents overanalysis from consuming the entire day. Discipline in time use enhances efficiency, focus, and momentum. External input can be helpful, but must be limited. Seeking advice or feedback is valuable when necessary, but over-reliance on others' opinions often fuels overthinking. Collecting too much information or listening to conflicting viewpoints can intensify doubt and hesitation. Confidence grows when decisions are made with sufficient information, not by trying to account for every possibility. Emotional awareness is crucial. Overthinking often amplifies stress, anxiety, and self-doubt. Identifying emotions linked to repetitive thoughts helps manage their influence. Acknowledging fear, uncertainty, or pressure allows the choice to act despite them rather than being immobilized. Emotional regulation strengthens resilience and reduces the tendency to spiral mentally. Understanding that perfection is an illusion is essential. Overthinking stems from the desire to control outcomes completely. Reality is unpredictable, and uncertainty is unavoidable. Accepting imperfection allows action without waiting for perfect conditions. Each decision made with incomplete information is a step forward, not a failure. Action under uncertainty develops skill, experience, and confidence. Patterns of overthinking can be interrupted by establishing routines and habits. Daily practices that emphasize action, reflection, and structured planning provide a framework that reduces mental chaos. Habitual focus on priorities and consistent execution strengthens decision-making skills and reduces the energy spent on unnecessary rumination. The impact of overthinking extends beyond personal productivity. Relationships, career progress, and mental well-being are all affected. Hesitation can delay important conversations, prevent opportunities, and reduce effectiveness. By taking deliberate steps to act decisively, energy is redirected toward growth, contribution, and achievement. Each action builds credibility, confidence, and momentum. Overthinking diminishes when personal accountability replaces dependency on constant analysis. Trusting judgment, committing to decisions, and learning from outcomes builds independence. Self-directed action reduces reliance on endless mental review and reinforces the habit of moving forward. Despite uncertainty, confidence grows with each decision made and each lesson learned through experience. The long-term consequence of overthinking is stagnation. Life progresses in response to actions, not thoughts. Without action, potential remains unrealized and goals remain distant. Each day spent trapped in the mind is a day of opportunity lost. Energy must be focused on tangible steps that produce results, rather than imagined outcomes that consume mental capacity. In practice, overcoming overthinking requires repeated choices to act decisively. Each decision, even small, reinforces confidence, builds clarity, and reduces fear. Momentum grows with each step, making subsequent decisions easier and more natural. Over time, the mind becomes a tool for planning and problem-solving, rather than a source of paralysis. Ultimately, breaking free from overthinking restores energy, focus, and control. Clarity emerges, decisions are made confidently, and progress accelerates. The life you want is created through actions taken, not thoughts endlessly reviewed. Habits of decisiveness, prioritization, and reflection cultivate efficiency, resilience, and success. Each step forward transforms possibility into reality and frees the mind from the weight of endless doubt. 定时思 Relationships without respect drain energy, erode confidence, and silently hold people back from achieving their potential. Respect is the foundation of trust, understanding, and healthy communication. When respect is missing, interactions become stressful, unbalanced, and emotionally taxing. It doesn't matter how much time or effort is invested. Without respect, the connection cannot support growth, happiness, or success. Continuing in these relationships without acknowledgement of the issue only perpetuates frustration and disappointment. Many people underestimate how much disrespect affects their mental and emotional state. Constant disregard, belittling comments, or dismissive behavior creates an environment where doubt and insecurity grow. Over time, self-esteem diminishes and personal boundaries weaken. The energy that could be directed toward goals and personal development instead becomes absorbed by negativity, tension, and conflict. A lack of respect acts like a silent weight, slowing progress and draining motivation. Recognizing when respect is absent is crucial. Sometimes disrespect is obvious, harsh words, constant criticism, or dismissive behavior. Other times, it is subtle, interruptions, ignoring opinions, or taking advantage of your time and resources. Awareness allows the choice to respond, adjust boundaries, or step away. Unguarding disrespect only reinforces the pattern and signals that your value is negotiable. Boundaries are essential in relationships. Without respect, protecting time, energy, and personal space ensures that negativity cannot dominate life. Clear expectations for behavior, communication, and mutual consideration set a standard that cannot be ignored. When boundaries are consistently enforced, the environment either adjusts to meet them, or it becomes clear that the relationship is unsustainable. Without boundaries, disrespect continues unchecked and personal growth stalls. It is important to understand that not all relationships can or will change. Trying to fix someone else's behavior is often futile. People who lack respect rarely recognize or adjust their patterns unless held accountable. Focus must shift from attempting to alter them to taking responsibility for your own energy and choices. Attachment does not mean indifference. It means refusing to sacrifice well-being and goals for the sake of maintaining a connection that is harmful. Communication plays a role, but it must be honest, firm, and focused. Expressing feelings, concerns, or expectations with clarity is essential. However, respect cannot be demanded through conversation alone. It is earned and reciprocated. If repeated communication is ignored or met with dismissiveness, it becomes evident that the relationship is unsustainable. Observing patterns over time provides clarity about whether change is possible. Continuing relationships without respect can create long-term consequences. Personal confidence diminishes, decision-making becomes clouded, and motivation is suppressed. Habits of self-protection are weakened when energy is continually redirected toward navigating disrespect. Career opportunities and emotional growth can all be indirectly affected when time and energy are consumed by unbalanced relationships. Choosing to remove or reduce contact with disrespectful people is not selfish. It is strategic. Prioritizing relationships that support growth, encouragement, and mutual consideration maximizes potential. Every hour spent engaging with disrespectful behavior is an hour lost that could be spent building skills, pursuing goals, or nurturing positive connections. Energy must be invested where it produces returns, not where it is depleted. It is also essential to recognize personal patterns that allow disrespect to persist. Sometimes people tolerate poor treatment because of fear, guilt, or a desire to maintain harmony. Evaluating why certain relationships continue despite the absence of respect is empowering. Awareness of personal tolerance thresholds enables the development of stronger boundaries, assertiveness, and self-respect, which in turn attracts healthier relationships. Respectful relationships foster accountability. When respect exists, feedback is constructive, communication is open, and each party feels valued. Absence of respect removes accountability and creates imbalance. Interactions become emotionally taxing, often leading to stress, resentment, or passive-aggressive behavior. Life momentum slows because energy is redirected from growth to managing conflict. Relieving disrespectful relationships restores focus, energy, and clarity, creating space for personal and professional development. Forgiveness can be part of the process, but it does not require tolerance of repeated disrespect. Letting go of past grievances can free emotional space, but boundaries must remain firm. Forgiveness without action allows patterns to continue. Accountability and boundary setting are the tools that ensure emotional and practical protection while maintaining personal integrity. Mentorship and guidance can help navigate relationships without respect. Observing examples of healthy relationships, seeking advice on assertiveness, and learning strategies to reinforce boundaries provide clarity and strength. Mentors can help identify patterns, validate feelings, and suggest approaches that maintain dignity and personal growth while addressing or avoiding disrespectful behavior. Time is an important factor in evaluating relationships. Consistent patterns over months or years provide evidence of respect or the lack thereof. Short-term lapses or misunderstandings may not define a relationship, but ongoing disregard signals a systemic issue. Recognizing patterns allows informed decisions about whether energy should be invested in attempts to change the relationship or redirected toward healthier connections. Prioritizing self-respect is critical. Respectful relationships are not a luxury. They are a requirement for sustainable, personal, and professional growth. When self-worth is clear and non-negotiable, the tolerance for disrespect decreases naturally. Standing firm in values and expectations communicates that energy and time are valuable and will not be squandered on relationships that diminish rather than enhance life. Long-term benefits of removing or limiting relationships without respect are profound. Confidence increases, mental clarity improves, and emotional resilience strengthens. Focus shifts to meaningful goals, and personal energy becomes available for constructive actions. Life becomes more predictable, interactions become supportive, and momentum toward achievement accelerates. The decision to remove or adjust relationships without respect is an investment. Every choice to protect energy, and uphold dignity creates space for growth, productivity, and fulfillment. Positive environments attract opportunities, inspiration, and people who elevate rather than diminish. Each step to distance from disrespectful influences reinforces the habit of valuing oneself and one's time. Ultimately, relationships without respect are a clear signal to reevaluate priorities. Action is necessary to preserve energy, protect confidence, and create space for meaningful connections. Respect is not optional. It is fundamental. Removing disrespectful relationships is not avoidance. It is a conscious choice to live intentionally, preserve focus, and pursue growth. Things Wu, bad spending habits and debt traps. Money is one of the most powerful tools in life, but it can easily become a source of stress, limitation, and distraction if mismanaged. Bad spending habits and debt traps silently consume energy, focus, and freedom. Overspending on items that do not add value, accumulating credit card debt, or living beyond means creates a cycle where financial pressure constantly overshadows personal goals. The impact of poor money management is not just financial. It is emotional and mental, draining confidence and reducing the capacity to pursue growth. Many people underestimate how habits around money shape their lives. Small, repeated choices compound over time. Buying something unnecessary each week, ignoring savings, or deferring financial responsibility seems minor in the moment. But these choices pile up and create a burden that limits opportunities, increases anxiety, and slows progress toward meaningful goals. The debt traps enforce dependence on external sources and make it difficult to focus on personal development or long-term plans. Awareness is the first step. Identifying spending patterns, recognizing impulsive purchases, and understanding where money is consistently wasted provides clarity. Tracking expenses, analyzing how, and observing tendencies to spend emotionally or out of habit can reveal areas where change is required. Acknowledging the problem is not about guilt. It is about empowerment and taking control of a critical part of life that directly influences freedom, focus, and confidence. Discipline is the foundation for reversing bad financial habits. Creating a structured approach to spending, budgeting, and saving allows decisions to be intentional rather than reactive. This involves determining priorities, separating wants from needs, and making clear choices about where resources are directed. Consistency and financial discipline builds momentum, reduces stress, and creates a reliable foundation for long-term growth. Debt traps are particularly dangerous because they are often hidden until the burden becomes overwhelming. High-interest loans, unpaid credit card balances, and recurring expenses beyond capacity create a cycle that is difficult to escape. Each month, more energy goes towards servicing debt than toward investment, growth, or personal development. Breaking free from debt requires courage, strategic planning, and persistent effort. In Garmix, it only compounds the problem and erodes confidence over time. Avoiding impulse purchases is critical. Many people spend on items they don't need because of temporary emotions, social pressure, or marketing influence. These decisions create immediate gratification, but long-term consequences. Practicing intentional spending, waiting before purchases, and asking whether the item adds measurable value or aligns with goals helps break the cycle. Every avoided impulsive expense preserves energy, builds control, and strengthens financial habits that support success. Investing time in learning about money management is essential. Financial literacy provides tools to make informed decisions, reduce risk, and increase long-term security. Understanding the difference between productive and unproductive expenses, learning how to save strategically, and exploring opportunities for investment ensures money works as a tool rather than a limitation. Knowledge empowers action and builds confidence, removing fear and uncertainty that can accompany poor habits. Mindset is equally important. Seeing money as a resource to create freedom rather than a source of stress changes behavior dramatically. Habits develop around what is valued and prioritized. When financial health is a priority, spending, saving, and investment choices align naturally. Awareness, discipline, and focus together create habits that support wealth accumulation, rather than habits that generate stress and dependency. Accountability strengthens change. Sharing financial goals with trusted advisors, mentors, or supportive friends encourages discipline. Tracking progress, celebrating small victories, and adjusting habits ensures long-term commitment. Isolation can lead to old patterns resurfacing, while accountability builds momentum and reinforces responsibility. Every step taken toward better financial habits directly influences confidence, freedom, and energy to pursue life goals. Breaking the cycle of bad spending requires deliberate restructuring of daily choices. This may include eliminating unnecessary subscriptions, creating clear budgets, prioritizing debt repayment, and consistently evaluating expenses. Every small, intentional action compounds, reducing long-term stress and freeing mental space for creativity, productivity, and growth. Financial clarity translates directly into personal clarity, providing energy to focus on the things that truly matter. Debt traps often affect relationships, self-esteem, and freedom. Carrying financial burdens creates tension and stress in personal and professional life. Choices that might otherwise lead to opportunity become impossible because resources are tied to past decisions. By actively removing bad habits and addressing debt, control is restored, confidence grows, and the ability to make proactive life decisions returns. Long-term success requires vision, clear goals, and strategic financial planning. Transform money from a source of limitation to a source of empowerment. Tracking income and expenses, prioritizing necessary spending, and directing resources toward meaningful growth ensures that money supports rather than hinders personal and professional development. Every decision must align with objectives, reinforcing habits that foster independence and freedom. Freedom from debt and bad spending habits is not a one-time event. It is a continuous practice. Each month, choices about spending, saving, and investment either build or erode stability. Consistency is the difference between living with stress and living with opportunity. Habits that protect resources and prioritize growth ensure that energy is invested in things that create lasting value rather than being consumed by mistakes of the past. The emotional impact of financial freedom is profound. Confidence grows, stress diminishes, and focus sharpens. Without the burden of debt or poor habits, personal energy is available for growth, creativity, and relationships. Habits around money influence every aspect of life, decisions, mindset, and opportunities, and by shaping them intentionally, the trajectory of life changes dramatically. Every choice to remove bad financial habits and avoid debt traps is a statement of self-respect and purpose. It declares that energy, focus, and resources belong to personal growth, goals, and meaningful life. Freedom to act, clarity of mind, and confidence to pursue opportunities are direct results of disciplined financial habits. Ultimately, bad spending habits and debt traps limit life potential silently but powerfully. Addressing them requires awareness, intentionality, discipline, and continuous evaluation. Each step toward financial responsibility restores control, builds confidence, and provides energy to pursue goals. Removing these obstacles transforms not just finances, but the life they influence, allowing focus, freedom, and personal growth to flourish without distraction or limitation. Things sure low. Envy and jealousy toward others. Envy and jealousy are silent killers of ambition and peace. When attention is focused on what others have, rather than what is being built for oneself, energy is wasted, confidence erodes, and opportunities slip by unnoticed. Every glance at someone else's success or possessions carries a subtle drain, a distraction that shifts focus from action to comparison. This constant measurement against others not only undermines self-esteem, but also prevents forward movement. These emotions often sneak in without recognition. A thought like, "Why do they have that, and I don't?" may seem harmless, but over time, it shapes behavior. People begin to make decisions based on resentment or desire to catch up, rather than deliberate planning and personal growth. Envy pushes choices that are reactive, not proactive. It keeps energy tied to outcomes outside of personal control, instead of investing it in things that truly matter and produce results. The first step in overcoming envy is awareness. Noticing when comparisons arise and understanding how they affect motivation and decision-making is critical. Recognizing these moments without self-criticism allows clarity. Awareness creates a choice to continue letting emotions control energy or to redirect focus toward personal progress and tangible goals. Every person has a unique path, and comparing journeys is not only unfair, but also unproductive. Focusing on self-improvement rather than other people's achievements is the key. Life energy is finite, and how it is spent determines results. The time spent feeling envy could instead be spent learning new skills, developing talent, or taking actionable steps toward meaningful objectives. Growth comes from effort and persistence, not resentment or distraction. Every hour invested in improvement compounds over time, producing results far more satisfying and sustainable than simply wanting what someone else possesses. Jealousy often arises from insecurities. It highlights perceived deficiencies and magnifies doubts. Addressing these emotions means strengthening self-worth and confidence. Understanding that value and potential are not measured against others allows a shift from reactive thinking to purposeful action. Every small accomplishment, every step toward goals reinforces confidence and reduces the hold envy has over thoughts and emotions. Gratitude is a powerful countermeasure. Focusing on achievements, resources, and opportunities already present shifts perspective from scarcity to possibility. Recognizing personal progress and valuing what has been earned creates a mindset of abundance. This mindset not only reduces envy, but also strengthens resilience and determination. Instead of being consumed by what others have, energy is directed to growth and achievement. Comparisons can also distort reality. Social media and public appearances often display only success without effort, failure, or struggle. Judging oneself against incomplete narratives creates unnecessary pressure and false expectations. Understanding that every person faces unseen challenges allows perspective and reduces envy. Attention can then return to actionable personal objectives instead of chasing illusions or competing inappropriately with others. Mentorship and learning from others' successes is productive when done intentionally. Observing, analyzing, and adapting strategies that produce results in others can accelerate personal growth without creating resentment. The key is admiration without comparison, seeing possibility rather than inadequacy. Every lesson extracted becomes a tool for advancement rather than a source of emotional drain. Envy also affects decision-making. Choices driven by jealousy may lead to risk-taking without preparation, investments without strategy, or attempts to imitate rather than innovate. These decisions often produce short-term excitement but long-term setbacks. Redirecting focus toward personal priorities ensures decisions are grounded in strategy, not emotion. Every step taken with clarity, intention, and focus strengthens the trajectory of life and reduces wasted energy. Emotional control. Developing habits to pause, reflect, and redirect energy when feelings of envy arise ensures consistent focus on meaningful work. Journaling, meditation, or reflection can help identify triggers and patterns. By managing reactions, attention remains on actions that produce measurable results rather than on emotions that drain energy and motivation. Overcoming jealousy is not instantaneous, it is a daily practice. It requires deliberate attention to thoughts, feelings, and actions. Consistent effort to focus on personal objectives, celebrate achievements, and build skills gradually erodes the power of envy. The life of achievement is built on focus, persistence, and disciplined action, not on distraction from comparison or resentment. Investing energy in personal growth is always more productive than fixating on others' successes. Every hour spent learning, improving, and executing toward meaningful goals compounds into results that are personal and fulfilling. Comparing to others creates temporary desire. Building for oneself creates lasting satisfaction. Success rooted in personal effort produces freedom, confidence, and peace that envy can never provide. Relationships are also affected by jealousy. Envy can damage trust, breed resentment, and isolate. By focusing on self-improvement rather than comparison, interactions become healthier, more supportive, and more authentic. Positive relationships emerge when energy is used to build rather than to compete unnecessarily. Every connection strengthened through support and collaboration multiplies opportunities for growth and achievement. Consistency matters. Controlling envy is a habit formed through repeated, conscious effort. Each time a comparison arises, redirect attention to personal goals and actions. Over time, this creates a pattern of focus, energy, and emotional resilience. Every day, invested in building personal capacity increases independence from the influence of others' success. Ultimately, eliminating envy and jealousy creates freedom. The mind becomes a tool for progress rather than a source of limitation. Energy is preserved for learning, action, and growth, allowing steady advancement toward meaningful goals. Personal achievements no longer compete with others but stand as markers of individual effort, commitment, and persistence. Freedom from these emotions produces confidence, clarity, and purpose. Every choice, every action, and every habit can then align with objectives, creating momentum that jealousy and envy could never provide. Life becomes defined by action, growth, and meaningful accomplishment instead of reaction, comparison, or distraction. By addressing envy and jealousy, the pathway to success becomes clearer, focus sharper, and results more sustainable. Energy, attention, and emotional stability are invested in what matters most: personal growth, meaningful progress, and the achievement of life goals. Thing, Shirchi, staying in your comfort zone. Comfort is appealing because it feels safe, predictable, and familiar. The routine that makes life easy can also quietly limit growth. Every day spent only within the boundaries of comfort is a day where potential remains untapped. Success, achievement, and personal growth require more than just showing up. They require willingness to move beyond what feels easy and familiar. When life stays in a comfort zone, energy is preserved, but progress is minimal. The safe path rarely leads to extraordinary results. The challenge begins with awareness. Recognizing when comfort becomes a barrier is the first step toward meaningful change. It is often subtle, a hesitation to speak up, avoiding new responsibilities, or choosing familiar routines over opportunities that stretch abilities. Each small decision to remain comfortable compounds over time, creating patterns that limit potential. Noticing these habits allows a conscious choice to move differently, to take action, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. Action is essential. Growth is impossible without movement into new territory. Taking on tasks that are unfamiliar, engaging in activities that require skill development, or confronting situations that provoke discomfort all contribute to strength and resilience. Each step beyond comfort, no matter how small, expands capability. Repeated action builds confidence, reduces fear, and gradually makes the unfamiliar feel manageable. Growth is never instantaneous, but persistent effort outside the comfort zone compounds over time into visible, meaningful results. Fear often accompanies leaving comfort. Fear of failure, judgment, or inadequacy can make familiar routines feel like safe harbors. These feelings are natural, but must not dominate decisions. Understanding that fear is a signal, not a barrier, allows it to become a guide for growth rather than a prison. When action is taken despite fear, resilience strengthens. Each success achieved outside comfort reinforces courage and creates momentum for future steps. Habits support the process. Consistently pushing boundaries creates a pattern of growth. Small, daily actions that challenge abilities accumulate into skill, experience, and confidence. Even modest steps, repeated consistently, produce results far beyond occasional efforts. The life that is extraordinary is built not on sporadic effort, but on regular practice of courage and willingness to face discomfort. Each habit that promotes action outside comfort compounds into progress that is tangible, measurable, and motivating. Mindset is critical. Viewing discomfort as opportunity rather than threat transforms challenges into learning experiences. Each obstacle, challenge, or unfamiliar situation becomes a source of growth rather than a reason to retreat. Resilience is cultivated through repeated exposure to situations that push limits. Mental strength grows as confidence replaces hesitation, allowing consistent progress in areas that were previously avoided. Decision-making is affected by comfort. Choices made within familiar boundaries tend to prioritize convenience over long-term benefit. Breaking patterns requires deliberate attention to goals and values. When decisions align with objectives rather than temporary comfort, outcomes improve. Each intentional choice to act beyond comfort strengthens clarity, focus, and commitment, creating a lifestyle oriented toward achievement rather than stagnation. Reflections helps maintain perspective. Reviewing progress regularly reveals how much growth occurs when boundaries are expanded. Noticing personal development reinforces effort and encourages continued action. Reflection also identifies areas where comfort still dominates, providing insight into where next steps are necessary. Every evaluation strengthens understanding of what contributes to growth versus what maintains stagnation. Supportive environments enhance courage to step beyond comfort. Surrounding oneself with individuals who encourage growth, provide accountability, and model action outside comfort accelerates progress. Observing others take risks and achieve results builds confidence and demonstrates practical examples of what is possible. Collaboration and shared experiences reduce fear, making challenges more approachable and reinforcing momentum toward meaningful change. Person is required. Movement outside comfort is not one time, it is a continuous process. Each new situation may provoke fear, doubt, or hesitation, but repeated action develops strength. Over time, what was once uncomfortable becomes manageable, and the range of ability expands. The life that is fulfilling and productive is built on persistent effort to act beyond safe boundaries, not on avoidance of challenge. Time management plays a role. Often, comfort is reinforced by routines that consume time but do not produce meaningful growth. Identifying activities that maintain comfort without progress allows energy to be redirected toward challenges that develop skill and experience. Every choice about how time is spent either reinforces comfort or promotes advancement. Awareness and deliberate action ensure energy aligns with objectives. An attitude toward mistakes is essential. Experiencing discomfort often involves trial, error, and failure. Accepting mistakes as part of growth reduces fear and supports continued effort. Every misstep provides data, insight, and understanding that improve future action. Comfort zones avoid risk and therefore avoid lessons. Growth requires engagement, learning, and adaptation, which are impossible within strict comfort boundaries. Emotional regulation supports stepping beyond comfort. Discomfort often triggers anxiety, frustration, or self-doubt. Developing habits to manage emotions through reflection, focus, and self-discipline prevents retreat and maintains consistency. Emotional control allows attention to remain on action and objectives rather than temporary feelings that discourage progress. Ultimately, leaving the comfort zone is about reclaiming control of life. Each step into discomfort expands influence, skill, and opportunity. By continuously challenging familiar boundaries, growth becomes predictable and sustainable. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary lives lies in the willingness to act when it is uncomfortable, uncertain, or unfamiliar. Each deliberate step builds strength, confidence, and results that accumulate over time. Freedom and achievement are byproducts of consistent action beyond comfort. Comfort may feel safe, but it limits potential. Courage, persistence, and deliberate effort create life that is fulfilling, productive, and meaningful. Every action taken to expand boundaries strengthens ability, prepares for challenges, and produces tangible outcomes that would be impossible if comfort dominates. Breaking free from comfort requires focus, awareness, and persistence. Every time attention is shifted from what feels easy to what matters, progress occurs. Energy is invested in building skill, achieving objectives, and creating opportunities rather than maintaining temporary safety. Life becomes defined by accomplishments, capability, and growth, rather than routine, ease, and limitation. The life that is extraordinary, rewarding, and fulfilling is built through continuous engagement with challenges. Comfort may be tempting, but deliberate action beyond safe boundaries ensures development, achievement, and progress. Each day, choice and effort matters. By refusing to remain stagnant, by stepping into challenges, and by taking deliberate action beyond comfort, growth becomes inevitable and life transforms in meaningful and lasting ways. Take control of your life by removing what holds you back. Protect your energy, focus on what truly matters, and commit to actions that build your future. Every choice you make today shapes the person you become tomorrow. Choose clarity, choose growth, and choose a life you can be proud of. The power to transform your life is in your hands. Use it wisely.